808s and Joysticks with Tom Stone and Tyrell Hayward-Brown.
Welcome to 808s and Joysticks, the show that bridges the gap between games, music, season with pop culture. We're in 2020 and I'm Tyrell, and joining me today, as always, is Tom.
Yeah, that's right. It's the first show of 2020. Big things coming this year. There's not been much news, but if you listen to our Christmas special, you'll sort of seen our overview of the last year, the last decade, and now basically this show we're going to talk through some things that are coming in 2020, what's to be expected, for this new year. And straight off the bat, we have a really interesting thing that's come out from EA, and that's the information that Respawn's CEO has taken over DICE LA and plans a studio name change and an unannounced game. Now, if you're not aware who Respawn are an EA-owned studio who worked on games such as Titanfall, more recently Apex Legends, and even more recently Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. 3 really good games technically, and the fact that they're taking over DICE, who used to be a really good technical studio but have sort of fell off in recent years, is a really good thing for the industry in general, and also for EA actually, because EA aren't doing too bad now. Respawn have sort of bought in this whole good element about EA, and the fact that they're putting more trust in Respawn means we might start getting better EA games again, like we've seen over the last year. Not mentioning Anthem, we're going to forget about that. But 2020, new year, new EA. Is that what we think?
I'm not really quite sure. As usual these days now, I'm really apprehensive whenever it comes to hearing anything about this. Like, yeah, we might have something good come out of this, but I just, as I said, I'm not quite sure. Respawn have had a brilliant few years in the last decade, and not only that, but they also had the success of Titanfall as well, which was like an early bloomer, and also COD and a lot of other games adapted a lot of ideas from Titanfall, as in the mech suits and things like that. So like I can see it being successful. DICE LA was only a studio that served as like a support studio to the main Stockholm DICE one. So it we'll have to see what happens here, like, because getting rid of DICE LA means that there'll be less support for DICE games, and the engine itself that's being used, like Frostbite, is known to be not a hard engine to use, but you do need a lot of knowledge to actually make it work to its full potential. That's why we've seen that BioWare have had many issues with the Frostbite engine, and their games are just never up to par, just due to the fact that DICE weren't the main support on the game. We heard that throughout Anthem's development, that they needed DICE support so they could actually configure the Frostbite engine to how the game should be. Mass Effect Andromeda had the same issues. They couldn't figure out the Frostbite engine to its full potential. And I'm hoping that now that Respawn's going to take over DICE LA, like, there might be a better chance of, getting some more knowledge on the Frostbite engine and, using it to its full potential. And hopefully this is the right, it's a good step in the right direction for EA, and maybe we will see some old IPs getting revived through this studio. But I wouldn't even hold my breath, because they're doing this new, they're shutting down the studio to like rebrand it. But like, I really still think that BioWare is like maybe on its last legs. Like, if it doesn't produce with Dragon Age, the new Dragon Age, and if it doesn't manage to claw back Anthem, I felt like we could see a closure in at least one of the BioWare studios. So yeah, that's that. It's good and it's bad, because like, there's many layoffs and stuff that have happened over the years, but great earnings and stuff like that have happened, it's always the board members who make the most money in the end. So we would just have to see where this takes us. There's nothing been said about the game yet or anything like that. I know they've got a few projects that they're working on as well already, as you said, or Apex Legends is still being supported and continued development. We've also got Medal of Honor Above and Beyond, a new VR game. So that's the Medal of Honor series coming back in a different form, and we will have the narrative driven branch will be ran by Stig Amundsen, which is the director of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Apex Legends will be overseen by Jad Grenner. I'm not quite sure what his role was in Respawn before. And the Medal of Honor Above and Beyond game is being overseen by Peter Hirschman. So I'm guessing that these are probably pretty trusted and well-known developers within, within the EA company and within Respawn and whatnot. So let's see what happens. I'm quite intrigued to see how this all plays out in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just go back on the previous point that we mentioned, the fact that BioWare and sort of studios not getting into their potential was quite a theme we had throughout 2019 in our gaming section. Fingers crossed we don't see that coming into the new year. Like you said, apparently there's stuff already in place here. It looks like there's a plan in place for rebranding, renaming, new content being pushed out. And there's a quote which says that this is a destination you can go and make new content. That's what they want the studio to be. Whether that means, like you said, reviving old IPs, or whether that means brand new IPs, we'll just have to wait and see. The thing I think we could see is maybe something more of a dedicated studio towards Star Wars, or a big brand like that as such, especially after the success of the last game. We could start seeing stuff like that, or maybe a studio that's focused on a live service game as such as Apex Legends. I think that the future looks bright for that side of EA, but like you said, there's also the negative side, which I mean we always have had in the gaming industry over the last few years, and we're moving into the new year now, and there's still a lot of negativity around things like that. There's a few topics that we're going to discuss, things now such as WWE 2K20 basically became unplayable on New Year's Day, which is not really the start to the year you want from a developer such as 2K. It's it's a very bad way to start the new decade as one of the biggest games publishers or entities in the game industry. I don't know too much detail on this, but there's a sort of a Y2K style bug that sort of made the game unplayable as such.
Yeah, essentially, it almost broke the game. I don't really know what the real issue is, but we will take you through it right now, because I just find it interesting, because a lot of people were talking about it and saying how 2K20 is unplayable in 2020, and I was like, wow, okay, so what has actually happened? And it's just basically a bunch of really terrible bugs. I'm just I don't really know what's happened. The modes, the menus were crashing, everything. Apparently, it just set the date back to your the system back to its first date or something like that. So that just made the game just unplayable for some reason. I find that very strange that the WWE game, it did that. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense, does it?
No, but I know a bit of detail about this anyway. Not the bug in general, but I just mean the programming side of it and the game. The game was released to probably awful reception, you could say. I'm not a big wrestling fan, but there's a lot of people I follow who play a lot of sports games and play WWE games quite a lot. and they said that the games have been getting progressively worse each year, and this is like the worst game that they've seen from 2K for a wrestling game in recent years. And to be fair, we have mentioned it before last year, and you could sort of see no effort was put into the game. And I mean, to have such a simple bug breaking the game, which basically sounds like date-related issues to some degree.
It is. It's just a date. Like, we learnt this in, like, when I was first doing programming and stuff like that. Like, but it's just a date. It's just like a date issue, isn't it? It's just about, like, too much information. It's like the information doesn't match up with the date. So, like, when you're trying to match that data, like, on the system to do with the updates and stuff like that, it's not like, I don't know what it is, because obviously we don't know the internals of the PlayStation 4 or anything like that. Like, we don't know how it relates to the game software, but I'm guessing it was matching the date of the software to, like, the system date, and it wasn't matching up, so therefore the game didn't work. And I was just like, I can't believe we're having such a simple issue like this in 2020. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've never heard of an issue like this happening on a game for a long time, if not ever. So, like, I don't really know why it's done this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's complexities behind it, but realistically, people that go into programming in the games industry, stuff like this is, these people are very intelligent programmers, like possibly some of the most advanced software engineers in the software world. The languages they work in, the optimizations they do on consoles and stuff is very in depth, and just to have something that simple in quite a big franchise game and from a really big publisher, 2K Games, it just doesn't fill anyone with trust anymore. I think that's the important thing. Like, it seems like the lack of effort is really just sort of shut down now, whether that's from the employees not caring because, they're not getting treated well, or just not caring in general, or it's too much pressure, stuff like that. We don't know the full story behind it, but the fact that things like that are happening, and obviously the stories we've heard about 2K Games in the past, or 2K subsidiaries, there's definitely more behind the story than meets the eye. But it's good that it's getting attention, and it definitely backs up a lot of the stuff we saw last year with people going on about overworking and unionising, which I think it's a good way to start the new year in some senses, because it brings more attention back to that. But it's a really bad way for 2K to start this year and decade with such an embarrassing bug.
Exactly, and even taking it to a higher level, Take-Two is a massive media, it's not even a company, it's a conglomerate, it's a corporation, it's so insanely big, and they take so much money in every year from GTA Online, and they have from Red Dead as well, because God knows why people are playing that game still. And this shouldn't be happening.
Funny thing, I actually went to play Red Dead the other day. I didn't. I played Everybody's Golf instead, so it's just, I don't know, it's just not that appealing.
It's just not.
I don't know what it is.
Was it?
To be fair, there was a reason why, and it's because I don't think I have a 4K HDMI cable to my PlayStation. So I wanted to wait until I got that before I tested it out. But there's still a bit of doubt in me that, did I really want to sit down and play this game for 2 or 3 hours, or did I just want to play other random games? And I did that instead.
Everyone, if you want to play something that is long and drawn out but is more enjoyable and is actually an enjoyable game to play, just play Death Stranding, because it's I've played it now. I got it for Christmas. It's sublime. I was right. It was the game of the year. I don't know what anybody was talking about. You need to experience the game for yourself. I wouldn't listen to the reviews, because it's been far from a walking simulator so far. It's been very enjoyable. And it's really challenging. It's quite scary as well. So
it depends what you want out of a game. We had the same a few years ago when No Man's Sky came out. Everyone gave it bad reviews,
that was actually a bad game though. That game wasn't good. That wasn't released to a good standard though. This has been released to a good standard.
Hang on, because my point is going to be, obviously that was overhyped, and certain aspects weren't in the game. The game wasn't actually bad when it launched. It was a good game. No.
All right, carry on.
It was a good game, but people were just expecting a lot more from it. That's the problem. Whereas, people will probably think the same about Death Stranding. A lot of people probably think the same about Death Stranding. But it depends what you want out of that game. Like, that was an exploration game. This, in the same sense, is a sort of exploration game, but it's how you connect with that, how you actually interact with the game is how you experience it. And a lot of people have to have that sort of given to them quite a lot. Whereas, you obviously have a connection with Kojima, the creator of the game, and his past, back catalogue of stuff, and that gives you more inspiration or, imagination going into the game, and you want to enjoy it more, and you know that you can look for certain things, and you enjoy different aspects that are hidden more to possibly like the normal player. If that made any sense.
No, I understand where you're coming from with that. I guess if we're taking it to a level where everyone has to have their own opinion and own experience. I totally agree. I don't ever really listen to reviews on games. I don't listen to music reviews. I don't listen to film reviews. I like to talk to people myself and get first-hand experiences from people I know, people that I work with, people that I'm friends with, and ask them about a game or a film or a piece of music or an album or a project, and see what their opinion is on it. Because a lot of these reviewers, they have so many games to review, and it can get lost, and a lot of people can get jaded. The only thing I would say about the No Man's Sky thing is I wouldn't agree with is, it was overhyped, but it was also a part of a game where it was actually released, and it had a lot of issues and bugs, and it just shouldn't have been released at the time. I understand that No Man's Sky is a good game now, but I think this whole thing where it took 2 years for the game to get to a great level is something that people shouldn't accept. If I spent money, I shouldn't have to wait 2 years for it to improve. This is my whole argument with Google Stadia. That's another thing actually that wasn't in the notes, but we should talk about, because Google Stadia is actually not doing very well at the moment. So it's just one of those things where I'm thinking, how long am I supposed to wait for something to get good? Do you know what I mean? How long? I don't think that's a good trend that we should expect out of games. I think going into the decade, I don't want to see any more live services, but we're going to see so many more, and it's going to really just it's going to take away the shine of games. It's going to take the passion away, and people are going to start making more and more haphazard stuff, because they're oh, it's all right. The consumer will wait a year for it to be updated, and it's good now. Oh, you can pay £10, you can get the full package. Why am I paying an additional £10 to get the quote unquote full package of the game? I don't think that's right, in my opinion. No Man's Sky did it right because they've done free updates ever since, but there's a certain game companies that are releasing the game again for a lower price, but because it's been so many years later and now the game is complete, that's the complete edition. I think it's really unfair, in my opinion.
I think that's a trend we've always seen, but I am a fan of live service games if they're done correctly. Now, they're very rarely done correctly. However, things like Fortnite, we always use it as an example, but
it's the most successful. That's why
it is the best example of a game that is a live service. I mean, there's loads of different avenues that you can go down, but the problem is no one's really took those different avenues yet, and that's really, the next thing that we need to see this decade is what's going to happen next with that. We'll sort of get into that a little bit when we discuss what's coming in 2020 games wise, but I think we should discuss, what's coming console-wise or hardware-wise in 2020 now, because it's going to be a big year. We're going to have possibly 3 new consoles.
Wait, what's called it? Are we not going to talk about the Russian? I think that's a really important point, though, about the Russian internet service providers suing Twitch, because I think that's a really big court case that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm. But I think for 2020, I think it's more important to talk about this right now. And then if we have time after we've talked about the upcoming stuff, then I think the Russian thing is...
Well, everyone, Twitch is in trouble. That's all I'll say. Massive trouble. But carry on. We'll do the Switch model.
Yeah, Nintendo... Well, they haven't really announced anything, but we've known for a while that there's a Switch Pro on the horizon. Or on the back burner, however you want to put it. Do we know any details about it? Not too much. We know it's probably going to be produced early this year. Production will begin early this year, is what leaks are saying, and that means it's possibly going to be released sometime in 2020. The only
we do have a few details though. We do actually have a few details. But we've got 4K support.
Don't believe
bigger cartridge sizes, and we've also got beefed up components. I heard there's going to be an update to the CPU and a magnesium alloy body. This is all according to a DigiTimes report, which is a Taiwanese technology magazine, which apparently have been pretty on the nose with their reports before about certain, details to do with technology. Mm-hmm. So I can assume that we can take these suggestions and some of these things to be true.
Yeah. I mean, these details as such, quote unquote details, are. I mean, anyone could really say that that's going to be the case. Like, it's pretty obvious that some stuff's going to be updated to be more powerful. It's going to be called the Pro. So we know that. The alloy body sounds like a good thing. The plastic body of the Switch could definitely be improved. Whether the alloy body is a good decision or not, we'll have to wait and see. But things like when it says beefed up components, so that could mean anything. We don't have full details as such, like we've got for Xbox and PlayStation. We already have sort of a lot of internal details, not just beefed up components.
I think
specifics.
I think the 4K as well isn't going to be like running on a handheld, because that would be really hard to do. I think the 4K will probably be like the output, and not in the sense of like true 4K. I mean, like probably like checkerboarding, something similar that a bit of like an upscaling deal is going to happen in it, rather than natively running 4K. Even though I'll be really surprised, like say for example the dock itself had some type of like additional components in it, or like a GPU on it, and that can make it run native 4K. I don't know. I don't know. The Switch, Nintendo don't really tend to go towards things like that, so I wouldn't really expect that. But they do like their additional peripherals, and like to add on, like when they did the Nintendo 64, they had the Nintendo 64, the DD ones. I think like it's the one where like you had the attachment where you put the game in and then you put like a disc in, and like it managed to beef up the capability of the cartridge. But obviously that was discontinued, and then the GameCube came out after. So I don't know. We'll just have to see in it. This is obviously all just hearsay and a lot of like, I guess, true-ish rumors. But it's going to be really interesting to see that, we are going to have 3 brand new consoles. I did think that Nintendo wasn't going to let Sony and Xbox get away with like releasing brand new machines, and they're always behind in it, so I'm guessing they're trying to keep up with the times now. So
yeah, the problem is I totally agree that it's definitely going to be checkerboard in 4K or some. There's no way they're going to run native 4K games. The Switch can do 720 at a push handheld for certain games.
I'm thinking 1080p. They'll push it for maybe that.
We'll get maybe 1080p, but they don't need.
They don't need 4K. They don't not need on a small screen.
No, that's the thing. They don't need this 4K stuff that things like even in the dock, they don't need that stuff that PlayStation and Xbox have got, because that's not the selling point of their console. It's an all-round console for any age with specific games that only Nintendo produce. And to be fair, Nintendo's games don't have to be played in 4K because they don't really make well, you could say like photorealistic games to a degree. You have things like Breath of the Wild, which is a beautiful game, but if you play that in 720p handheld or 4K, it doesn't really matter, because it's the game in its whole capacity that's the beautiful thing, not just the scenery.
Well, the one thing I was thinking about is with the 4K thing is it's not really about how Nintendo's like the purpose of the machine. They're obviously trying to do this as a business move because they see that 4K is like going into the new decade. HD and 1080p will probably really be left behind, and 4K will become the norm this decade. So I guess Nintendo are just trying to get at consumers. Like, if a person who would buy a Pro is like a person who would buy the PlayStation 4 Pro or buy the Xbox One X, is a person who takes gaming serious and want a machine to run things at the highest capability. So I can't see why Nintendo wouldn't make a Pro machine that does run at like a higher level. I'm not saying that they don't need to do that, but from a business standpoint, I think Nintendo are quite smart to do that, because I know there's going to be certain players out there that will buy the machine because they want to play Nintendo's games at its best, even though Nintendo's games aren't, the greatest. Well, not even, I wouldn't say the greatest. That's a wrong statement to say. I mean, the art style of a lot of Nintendo games aren't photorealism. They are more towards the cartoon sense, or more to the, I don't even really know how to, describe a Nintendo game, but like, it isn't the craziest graphics. The fluidity of it all is great, and the lighting is usually really, really excellent. Like, so I can see why they would, if they wanted to make more ambitious games, they would need a more ambitious system, especially if you want to keep up with some of the games that are going to be produced in this next generation as well. We need to think about that as well. We need to think, if they want to have the same third-party titles on their machine, they are going to need to step their game up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. But it comes back to the point of their console is it's just different. I think that we might see, my prediction that we might see is something more akin to 1440p in docked mode, but that may have a frame rate limit of 30. Whereas what we see on like the PS Pro and the Xbox One X, is things like 1440p with 60 FPS.
Yeah.
So it'll still be behind to a degree, but you can have that 1440p and then upscale to 4K. And maybe run, media apps in 4K with 4K support. So they'll still have that capability, and then we might see 1080p handheld. I think there's definitely potential there for a lot of things to happen, but I don't think they're going to be too reliant on trying to compete with Xbox and PlayStation. I think they know if they try and compete directly with them, that battle's lost, whereas they're in this own market. They're sort of cross-market, and they've built this own market for themselves, where people will end up buying probably their console and another console, so they don't have to worry as much.
I would say that, but at the same time, I do see that according to this report, like Nintendo Switch sales have not dwindled, but obviously they've gone down in it. Like, they've got a lot slower recently. So they were saying that even the holiday season, you think it was going to be their biggest time, but it wasn't that big. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm guessing Nintendo are trying to look for a way how to get people interested in the system again, because it's been out for a little while now, and obviously there's all this buzz talk about new consoles and the PlayStation 5 and new Xboxes coming out, and pictures are being leaked, and everyone's getting excited for that, and then everyone's starting to almost forget about the Nintendo a little bit, the Switch. And I'm not saying that no one's forgetting about it. As I said, like, there is a different lane for Nintendo Switch users or whatever, but I also do think that they are trying to directly compete with PlayStation and Xbox now, and especially that whole deal that they did with Xbox to eventually bring some Xbox games onto the Switch system. They are really trying to think about how to extend the Nintendo's Switch's life, and also how to get different players and users to use in their system, because there is also a large demographic of people who won't buy a Nintendo system due to the games that are on there, and to the fact that they think it's a system for a younger audience, where we know that it isn't necessarily a system just for a younger audience. It can be for anyone, and that's why Nintendo also needs to do their best to also trying to appeal to an older audience. Like, they can carry on with Mario and everything for all these years, but we know people are getting fatigued on it, and we know people are starting to get sick of stuff like that. And like, it's just one of those facts of life. Even Pokemon didn't do as well as they all thought it was going to. Like, I really don't know anybody who really talks about Sword and Shield that much. I think it came and it went, and that's not what I expect out of a Nintendo Switch Pokemon, first console Pokemon in like years. I did not expect that to happen, because it's Pokemon at the end of the day, but no one seems to really care about that game anymore. That's what I'm seeing in it. If I'm looking on the outside, I don't have a Switch. I'm not in the know like that, but
there's a lot of people I know that have got the game and are playing it. The sales were massive. Obviously, they beat every other game. But I think
but what was the reason on that though? Was it because we knew it was Pokemon? Like, is that why their sales were so high? Because that's what it seemed to me. A lot of people tried the game out and said, "Oh yeah, it was alright," but I don't know how many people who actually concurrently played the game and thought it was an actual good Pokemon title. Like, they were just like, yeah, it was alright. Like, but I know a lot of people who went back to play the older titles because they were upset about certain Pokemon being removed from this game. So I was just trying to say, like, certain companies and certain things are like can lose their grip on certain things, and think you have to think about your consumer and how it changes over the years. That's the only thing that I think that Nintendo are starting to realize, that their consumer has changed.
Well, yeah, the problem is everyone that played those Pokemon games are now, mid-20s or later. Or, we'll say early 20s to sort of 40s. That's when, predominantly those people were growing up playing those games. And as people get older, obviously there's less time. It makes more sense for it to be on a Switch, but obviously as games have progressed during that time, and the fact that it's on handheld, it's this brand new thing that can play all these other games like The Witcher, Breath of the Wild. You're not really getting a big update to Pokemon as such that people were expecting. But like I said, I still think there's more things in the works for them, and I think they're testing the waters a lot. But I do think that with this Pro coming out 2020, or rumored to be coming out 2020, I think we'll get an update soon on what's happening with Breath of the Wild 2. And I think Nintendo would be stupid if they didn't try. In case of delays, I have to say this, that that there could be delays on Breath of the Wild 2. But if they didn't try and sync up the release date of the Switch Pro with Breath of the Wild 2, they'd be stupid, because it's such a great opportunity. That's what really propelled the Switch the first time. Just how good the game was, and everyone sort of played that and seen how good the game was, and then how good the console was by playing the games around it. March had marked 3 years since the first game and the release of the Switch. So it does make perfect sense to sort of release it around that time, Q2, come up the summer. Summer's probably a really good time for them to release a console as well because of the fact that it's the portability of it. Whereas the bigger consoles probably get more traction in the winter seasons. The Switch probably, weirdly, will sell more during summer to a degree because of the fact that you can take it anywhere, and a lot of people will be traveling during that time. Yeah. So it is weird. It is weird that we didn't see the holiday sales we expected, but then I feel that, come a big release in the summer on the Switch or a brand new announcement, I feel we could see those numbers rise again. So it's an anomaly in the gaming world console wise, but it's good. I think it's good to have something different, and we've said it before. I think we'll always say it. Nintendo always strive to be different and innovative, and as long as they keep doing that, they're constantly going to be around and they won't be going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say we'll speak about something innovative now, hardware-wise, but I don't really think the PlayStation 5 console or new controller, that's been leaked, is very innovative as such.
No, it's not. It seems to be very much the exact same type of controller as the PlayStation 4 controller. So I was quite surprised by that. I thought they would have tried to at least do something a little bit different with the PlayStation 5 controller. According to reports, though, it's a little bit chunkier, and recently they've already started releasing little adaptive triggers, and there's a back button attachment that has been released. Well, it's been revealed anyway, for the DualShock 4, and I think adaptive triggers would definitely be a big thing in the next generation, just due to the fact of accessibility. Should have always been important, but now so much more is accessibility is a really big deal. Making sure that every type of player can play these games. Doesn't matter if you have some sort of disability or whatnot. You should be able to customize your controller to play how you want to play, and I think that's a really good initiative. And Xbox have a really good initiative about that as well, where they've got adaptive controllers as well for making it able for other players who have accessibility issues to play games using their controllers. But yeah, it's just seems to be a chunkier DualShock 4, which I don't know really. It seems like it's kind of gone back a little bit to the old PlayStation style. It looks a little bit more like the PlayStation 3 controller. I'm not really quite sure. It looks more stubbier again, innit? Which could be a good thing. I wasn't really looking for it to get such an improvement anyway, because what's the point? It's the PlayStation controller, innit? I'm not expecting nothing crazy from it.
That's what I was going to say. That there's not much innovation. I mean, there might be more innovation inside, like you said, the adaptive triggers, not only accessibility wise, but just immersiveness wise, having the feel of the different force that could play a big part. We don't know yet. It does look a little stubbier, but then the PS4 controller is one of the best controllers I've ever used. It is one of my personal favorite controllers. And I think it was a massive improvement over the PlayStation 3 controller, because I did not enjoy the PlayStation 3 controller at all. I didn't feel like it was as comfortable to other controllers on the market at the time. It was nowhere near as good as it could be. It does look like they've made it a little chunkier, like you said, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. The Xbox controller has always been, not the original, but the 360 controller has always been touted as one of the best controllers ever. And
it's not.
It's a pretty good controller.
It's
I
all
will give
obviously
it that.
it's object, it's all opinion based really, and it like if you try and play any fighting game on it, it's really shit because the like analog sticks are in two different places. But if you want to play an FPS, I understand why the Xbox controller is used over other. But now these days, a lot of people play on PlayStation controllers regarding a lot of things, even shooters, fighting games. Usually, the PlayStation controller is used over any other controller.
Yeah, and I personally, like I said, the PS4 controller is my go-to controller. I like the fact that they haven't done too much to it because we all seen what was going to happen with the PS3 controller with the boomerang style thing that they thought was a good idea, and obviously changed it when everyone said that looks awful. So it's good they've not decided to try and do something like that again. But I think this generation is one of them. We've seen the Xbox details announced and sort of a mock-up of what the Xbox is going to look like, the new generation Xbox. It doesn't look fancy, there's not much to it, but I think this generation is going to be mainly all about internals, which, I mean, that's what hardware is anyway, but I think it's more sort of you have to experience it to know the difference as such. And whereas last generation, it was not as big as a leap from the PlayStation 2 to the PlayStation 3, but it was a pretty big leap still. This isn't going to be a massive leap in terms of obviousness to look at, but I think things like immersiveness just in general, so obviously your adaptive stuff, your load times, everything regarding that, I think that's where we're really going to see this generation come alive. But obviously that's not just down to the hardware, that's also down to the game developers and what people do, what experiences they bring to these consoles, and especially with things like VR now as well. It opens up that world of the consoles are more reliant than ever on the games that are being brought to them. And it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. But I am looking forward to it. I just have reservations as to whether it's really going to be worth it or not yet, or whether it's going to be worth it to be an early adapter of this generation.
Well, it's just what's called it. I'm really excited for the next generation. I'm really trying to like envision what is going to be in store for us. Like, I don't even know what kind of innovations we're gonna see going over. This next 10 years is going to be. It's going to be insane. Can you even think of like what games are going to be like in the next 10 years? Like, if you told me about 10 years ago that, VR and stuff like that would be like fully integrated into games, I would have just been like, yeah, whatever. And I never expected it to get this far, but like, they're like selling VRs at Christmas for like kind of a decent price now. Like, I was like, wow. So, and there's so many different VR options as well. I was kind of blown away.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking about VR, but we're talking about like what's to come next, and I think sort of just a quick little rundown of upcoming games in 2020 that we know about. There's games obviously that we don't know about, but just games that we know about that are coming in 2020. Big things that are coming. Obviously, we have the Final Fantasy VII remake, which is rumored to be coming really soon. Do you have some details regarding this a demo being leaked?
Yeah, what's it called? A demo was supposed to be apparently coming out on New Year's Day, but we haven't seen anything of it, have we? So, yeah, a bunch of data miners, them damn data miners, went in, found a bunch of details about the game, a lot of things that were like basically already information that is very well known about the game, and yeah, apparently like the demo was also apparently supposed to come out on Christmas Eve. There's been a bunch of hackers who have actually managed to rip a playable version of the demo out of the PSN system somehow, and they've been playing it, and that video has been shared and it's out there. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake demo must be coming very, very, very soon. If people have got not even like a little handful of people, apparently a lot of people have this demo now and they've been playing it. So that means it was uploaded. It was uploaded. I don't know what the word for it. Uploaded early. Sorry, I don't even know why. I just couldn't even think then. It was uploaded early onto the PlayStation Store, and people managed to rip it for some reason. And they've got a bunch of images as well that show different parts of the world that haven't been seen yet, confirmed characters that haven't been shown yet, all sorts of things like that. So I'm really looking forward to playing the demo remake because it looks amazing, and I like the fact that the battle system is much more of an action-based battle system like Final Fantasy 15 rather than the turn-based system. I don't mind the turn-based system, but my god, Final Fantasy games used to take like hours to complete because it was like a proper JRPG with like a turn-based system and everything. But now, because it's more action-based, I think you can play the game at a much more enjoyable pace, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I understand that, and obviously it's this thing of I don't know. You could say westernizing Eastern games to a degree, but it's sort of bringing this whole design element of real time stuff, and what people want everything right. People don't want to wait anymore. They want real time stuff right here, right now. There's games on the market. There's games that are coming that are massively open world, and you can do everything without loading times, apparently, in this generation. So to have such a big game and such a big remake that looks fantastic, have just turn-based combat would have been, I think, it would have been silly on Square's part to do that. But obviously they've decided not to do that. And while some people might not like it, I think the majority of people are willing to accept that that's the time now, that this game is going to be way more enjoyable with real-time combat than it would be with turn-based. But you still have the ability to do the turn-based stuff to a degree as well, which is nice. Yeah,
you do. Well, in Final Fantasy 15, there is like 2 modes that you can use, or you can use like the active mode or the wait mode, and like what happens is whenever you enter into a battle situation, the whole screen like kind of slows down combat, and you can kind of focus on certain enemies and analyze them, so you can see what kind of weaknesses and strengths they have, and you can see their health. So you can then think about, wait, okay, so what attacks do I have? Okay, he is susceptible to fire damage, but like his strength may be that he can do like, he's not really susceptible to thunder, so like I wouldn't use a lightning strike on him. I'll use a fire damage magic spell on him, and that would damage the enemy to its maximum potential. I do like the fact that you will you get to have those 2 aspects of the game, but I do really enjoy the fast-paced, more action-based combat. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it. As I said, coming out very, very soon on March the 3rd. We still don't know how it's going to be released, in what format, because we heard episodes are coming out. Now we heard there's only 2 parts. We know that they're going to be put out on apparently 4 different discs. I'm not quite sure what's going on at the moment and how we're going to get the game, but March 3rd is not too far away in terms of games. Like, it's only a couple months now, and you know what it's like. By the time we turn around, March 3rd will be here and Final Fantasy will be out. So
yeah, and like anything, we don't know if we are going to get the whole game, but I mean, we'll get the first part, and that is enough for some people, for a lot of fans,
Yeah,
just having that thing there to see.
Yeah.
And we've got other big games coming this year. We have Animal Crossing New Horizons coming March 20th, apparently on the Switch, which we could definitely see a big upturn in Switch sales for that. Animal Crossing, notoriously a pretty casual game, but a really well-selling game for Nintendo consoles. And with the online ability of that and the brand new, world as such that they're making with this, you could see a lot more casuals buying a Switch for this game alone. I think that's relatively exciting for Nintendo. I think they maybe have that in their mind that is sort of their path to keep the sales going. But I think we'll have to wait and see on that. Big game for you also coming March 20th, Doom Eternal.
Oh yes, really can't wait. I'm sad that it got pushed back, but it is. I'm happy as as a player of Doom, and as I enjoy it so much that I'm glad that they took it back to work longer on the game, because that means that we're just going to get a much more polished product towards the end. And as I've grown up, I've become much more, I say patient, because I understand, development time, and I would rather a game comes out complete these days, can't stress out enough, rather than comes out as a broken mess and we're waiting months and even a year or maybe even a few years for the game to be finished and complete and, bugless. So, yeah, I'm really happy that Doom Eternal is finally getting released. I can't wait, because I heard the campaign is 2 times as long as the last one. So that's going to be great. And the world is massive as well. So, yeah, really, really excited for Doom Eternal. I think I'll just go down some of the other ones as well, because we need to move on to the film and TV section. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, that is a 2.5 fighting game by Arc System, same developer as Dragon Ball Z Fighters. That will be coming February the 6th, 2020. We've got Ori and the Will of the Wisps, February 11th, 2020, come to Xbox and PC. Really, really beautiful looking game. That it's somehow managed to one up the last game in it, or in the Blind Forest, and it just looks even crazier. What else do we have? We've got Persona 5 Royale. This is an enhanced edition of Persona 5, so I think I'm going to pick this one up, because I've never played Persona 5.
Okay, well, I already got the other one, so...
Yeah, so there's no point. Apparently, it gives you an additional story arc, so if you're interested in playing a new story arc, I guess...
I feel
it has a new area, new characters, and a new story arc. So maybe you would get the DLC of it or something.
Yeah, that's what I think they might bring it out as a standalone digital DLC as well. So I already have that, so we'll see. The big one for well, not for me, but
we don't even know what this is really gonna consist of. So we've got Half-Life Alyx, which is the VR Half-Life, which we haven't really spoke about, because I just don't know what Valve is doing, so I leave them to it.
Honestly, I mean, I'm open to criticism, but I just don't really care about Half-Life.
I don't care. I don't really care anymore either. They should have made Half-Life 3. You should have really finished off the game for the fans, because they've been waiting for Half-Life 3. Yet you give them some type of prequel in set in a VR world. I don't get it. Do you know what I mean?
But this is Valve, the same people that teased a new Portal game, and then it was Bridge Simulator or something with Portal. So we sort of knew what to expect. Big game coming, Resident Evil 3 remake.
Game. One of my favorite Resident Evils. It's really sick.
We have a lot of remakes over the last decade, but I mean, to be fair, the last Resident Evil remake, the Resident Evil 2 remake, was actually insanely good. So I don't actually mind them remaking stuff like that, because they're not remastering it, they're remaking it, and there's a difference in that, a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. And thank God that they're actually rebuilding stuff from the ground up. This is what we want out of a remake. Remember when HD remakes coming through, and all it was is an upscaled version of the game? Come on, man. We want new textures, clean up the physics a little bit, maybe even put in some additional gameplay features to make it more modern. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what you should be doing for a remake. Like, that's the wrong problem I have with Crash Bandicoot, kind of, is like, it's so insanely like difficult, and like some of the mechanics on like the game just doesn't work for a modern time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, it's supposed to be like a 1-for-1 remake, but my God, it gets so frustrating sometimes when you're playing that game. Yeah, it's Cyberpunk 2077, and we ain't gotta say nothing about that really. We already know what the real's waiting on.
April 16th. So we have just over 4 months. 4 months. That's if not 4 months to wait. That's
if it doesn't get like pushed back, because that's a game that I can definitely expect to get pushed back if they're not finished with it.
3 months, 3 months, just over 3 months to wait.
Yeah, we've got Dying Light 2. That's a game that we've definitely spoken very highly of since we seen it at E3 that time. That's coming out for spring 2020. That's another game I can definitely see getting pushed back because it has no date. It just has a release window so far. We've got The Last of Us Part 2, May 29th. We ain't even going to say about that, really. 2020. We have Tell Me Why, a new story from Don't Nod, the Life is Strange developers. That's coming out summer 2020. We've got Ghost of Tsushima. Wow, can't wait. Summer 2020. Halo Infinite. Don't Care. Holiday 2020. Little Nightmares 2. 2020. I haven't actually played Little Nightmares, but it looks absolutely fucking terrifying. So I will go back and try and play that before that. Watch Dogs Legion. That's just got no date. Really, really small game that got really massive. Spelunky. I didn't even know it was getting a sequel, but yeah, that's getting a sequel. There's a few smaller games that are going to come out. Psychonauts 2 is coming out. I know that's really big for certain people. Skull and Bones apparently is getting released this year. Bayonetta 3. Hellblade 2, which I can't wait for, but Xbox exclusive, so I'll be playing that on PC. Oh, Metroid 4 as well. Everyone's waiting on that.
There's also Ooblets, which is the PC and Xbox game similar to Animal Crossing and Pokemon to a degree. Basically plant creatures that you grow in battle. It's interesting. Hollow Knight, obviously the Hollow Knight Silk Song, the sequel for that is coming. And then 12 Minutes as well, which was the interactive thriller, which looked a really interesting indie game that's coming this year, where you're stuck in a 12-minute time loop. And that's just an interesting concept that, while not the most technically advanced game, does look something incredible. And then we move on to like the games at the end, which are games that we know are coming. Well, we don't know they're coming. Let me take that back. They're games we don't know are coming, but are meant to be rumoured. Beyond Good and Evil 2. Obviously, we knew about that game a long time ago, and we've heard nothing since. It's just vanished again. Whether we'll ever see that or not, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. There's Deathloop, which is basically a Groundhog Days type game where there's two assassins trying to kill each other, and we spoke about that a little bit when that was announced.
It was a very interesting game. Very, very interesting concept. I don't know how it's going to work, but yeah.
Yeah, Ghostwire Tokyo, which looks really good. The same studio that bought you The Evil Within is bringing that, and it does look very good.
Evil Within is probably one of the best horror games of the last generation, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Bethesda has Elder Scrolls 6 in the works.
No, that's not coming. Obviously, we know that none of these games are coming out in 2020. Those Bethesda games are not coming out. And not coming out in 2020. Yo, did you know that Starfield is the first new IP from Bethesda in 25 years?
I do, because I just read that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just reading it now thinking, my God, we've let them slide for 25 years without releasing an original idea. We need to do better.
I mean, it depends technically on what their new IP is classed as, whether it's just their own or like games they've published as well. But yeah, I think it's their first new thing, but we'll have to see. Bethesda did not have a great year last year or the year before, and I mean, it doesn't look like they're going to have a great year this year, unless, if Doom's really good, then people will forget about everything that's happened.
But I never ever count Doom for them, like, because Doom is ID, like, that is a total different company. Like, Bethesda can't even touch Doom. They have no say in it because it is still ran by that side of, Bethesda, like ID in them. So I always see Doom as like a different beast, but then I thought the same about Wolfenstein, and they messed that up as well. So I don't know, man. I don't know what Bethesda's doing.
Mm-hmm. But then technically, The Evil Within is published by Bethesda as well. So this is what I mean. Like I think their own like in-house IP, probably the first time in 25 years. But other studios underneath them or published by them probably aren't counting in that.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I think and to be fair, other studios that they have,
like you said, then sorry, just to be fair, people don't really class that as a Bethesda game because it's just published by them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't class those as mainline Bethesda games. The mainline Bethesda games are Fallout, Elder Scrolls. That's it. I don't really know what else is a mainline Bethesda game at this point, because I think everything else is like is published and done through different companies. So yeah, we'll just have to we'll have to see what Bethesda is saying. Yeah, I think we should move on, because we do have like a bit of time left, but we're also running on our own time constraints at the moment. So we'll just get into, unless you want to discuss anything more. Do you want to discuss the Russian service provider thing? Yeah, we can.
We have 5 minutes to just discuss this.
I just wanted to discuss this little story. Yeah.
You seem to know
basically
what it is. You seem to be very involved.
Yeah. Well,
I can tell you itching to speak about it.
No, because
I didn't know it a little bit more.
I didn't know this was going on because, obviously, when you're watching the Premier League, which is most important league in football history, like now anyway, like it's the best league in it. Like, that is the top of the top. You want to play in the Prem, and you can obviously watch the Prem legally. You can get BT Sport. You have to get Sky Sports, and you have to have Amazon Prime now if you want to watch every single match. A lot of people watch the matches online. I do it. Tom does it. Everyone does it, because there's no way for us to. We're not rich. We're still young adults.
I don't watch the match online. I have Sky Sports.
Yeah, but obviously your team isn't. Let's not even talk about your team in it right now.
We could get into
you can get to my team. At least we're shown on TV, and you're barely shown on TV. So I don't know what's going on.
Everyone in the Premier League showed equally on TV. That's the rights deal.
So we're talking about the Premier League anyway. Yeah. Okay, Tom. Why? Just be honest. You don't obviously have every single streaming service in it. Like, you don't watch the Prem legally all the time. I'm obviously talking about it in the terms of an example. You have to buy Sky Sports, you have to buy BT Sports, and you have to have Amazon Prime right now if you want to watch every single Premier League match.
Which I do have, to be fair. Until I don't have BT, but BT have just this isn't sponsored by BT, but it's a thing that I've said for ages, that BT do not offer a month-by-month contract-based subscription to watch the football. You have to have internet with them, which is absolute bullshit. 6 days ago, they released a month-by-month contract subscription for BT Sports, and now you can get it, but it's stupidly expensive. But yes, you can get sports now for all streaming services month by month. I must say though, BT and Amazon are quite good at their streaming stuff. Quality wise, BT streams aren't that good. Now TV or Sky, whichever one you use, goddamn awful, not even worth the money. You can get a better stream via things like Twitch or other services, because you just get better quality streaming. Like, you can actually watch it in HD rather than shit. And considering you're paying for it, it is baffling. I mean, Now TV haven't updated their app on some things for ages. You can't even watch it properly on the PC full screen because it just jitters all the time. Like, it's an absolute mess.
Yeah, I will say I have Sky, and trying to use like the Sky Now or Sky TV app or whatever on any type of device is really bad. It's very poor. There's no point trying to use Sky's on-demand service because it's just really, really bad. Like, I don't know what they've done to it. Like, it literally makes my PC act like it's running like GTA at Ultra or something. I don't. It's like the fans all come on. I'm like, what is this? What is it doing? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why is it using so much RAM and processing? Like, I was like, what? But I'm not even watching live streaming. I'm watching like, I don't know, like Catfish or something on demand. Like, why is it doing this?
You're still streaming something. But
I'm streaming stuff from other websites. You don't do that to my PC. Why is it taking off? I don't get it. Like,
because it's good 480p quality that you're streaming.
Really bad, very bad. Either way, anyway.
Mm-hmm. To the point,
Russian internet service.
Can they do this? Can they sue Twitch for people uploading stuff?
They can. They can. The reason why they can't do this is because obviously Twitch they have copyright processes, and obviously if this certain internet service provider has the exclusive broadcasting rights for the Premier League in their country, and Twitch has been hosting these games using their streams that somebody's obviously put through onto Twitch should have been, chasing up who's doing the broadcast, but apparently a lot of these broadcasts have just been running on Twitch.
They do take them down, to be fair.
Yeah, they do. They do take them down. Like, a lot of the time when you're trying to watch a stream and it's on Twitch, and it usually gets taken down, and you look for another one, and you usually find another one on another place, and yeah, it works after that. But I think the beef is obviously that it claims that more than 36,000 contract breaches have happened in the last few months. So it also wants to have Twitch banned in Russia, which could be a really big issue because you remember Amazon owns Twitch. So Amazon can maybe come up to some type of agreement with this Russian internet service provider, seeing as Amazon actually has the rights to some of the matches in the UK exclusively. But the way how FIFA and the Football Association and everyone who's involved has really fucked up everything with this whole, we're going to divvy out the matches to all these different exclusive providers. This could get really, really bad. This could really cause an issue. And obviously it could cause an issue for people who want to be Twitch streamers in Russia if Twitch gets banned in the country.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my point of view on this, to me, it just seems like the Russian ISP is salty because obviously they've paid a lot of money for these streaming rights and they probably haven't got their investment back, so they're now blaming everyone else. I don't think that they're really going to get 2.3 billion from Twitch. They're probably just trying to get a settlement to sort of make up their lost costs. Yeah,
they're saying they want to get a settlement, but are they going to be able to get 2.2 to 3 billion in settlement money from Twitch? I doubt it.
No, but this is just them trying to make up lost costs. And basically, I don't think Twitch needs to be worried. I don't think Twitch is going to be banned in Russia. And I don't think that this company really has much to do. Like, Twitch does have compliance in place where if people put stuff up, they do take it down. It might not be super fast, but that's what happens with streaming sites like this anyway. Like, technically, if they're going to be doing this, then they could sue Facebook and YouTube and everyone else that does stuff like that, even if it's just for a split second. So I think they have to, like, the court will realise that it's the modern age. Twitch are doing the best they can.
I think it's more of a, because we're not Russian and obviously we don't know how it works over there. In Russia, they managed to suspend Twitch's live streams of like, it seems like they use Twitch in Russia to actually run games in Russia, so like, and to stream them. So I'm guessing there's something else has happened in Russia like that is to do with that, but they got their matches suspended because the lawsuit went through to the Moscow City Court. So it's worked and things are working. So I have no idea. And they said that the suspension is going to cover from 2019 to 2021 to 2022 for the Premier League seasons. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. They managed to get the ban. So I think we need more context on this. I'm going to be following it a little bit more because they've been sending lawsuits out to a bunch of different people. They've sent one out to a Russian sports broadcaster called Match TV. They've also apparently been using their broadcasts as well to do the Prem. They've been broadcasting Premier League matches, even though that they're not the exclusive right holders. There's been some other groups that have been taken down by this same rambling group. So it seems like they're winning their court cases. So this could be a really bad thing for Twitch if this does happen.
I don't know. We'll see. It all depends on who's funding. Like I said, I don't know how Russia works. I'm gonna be careful what I say, but the politics in Russia is drastically different to a lot of places in the world. And on that note, I think we should move on to films and TV before we start 2020 with something really bad.
Bridging the gap between music and gaming. 808s and Joysticks.com.
So films and TV then. We have obviously one of the biggest things that ended the year, the return of Star Wars. The return and the end of Star Wars, the Skywalker saga. Have you had chance to see the film yet, or is it not?
No, I actually haven't even watched Return of the Jedi, you know. So
Return of the Jedi.
No, not Return of the Jedi. Shit, my bad. I mean, I haven't watched. Fuck, what was the second one?
The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I haven't watched The Last Jedi, sorry. I have not watched The Last Jedi. I don't know why I said Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is like in the old trilogy.
That came out in the 1980s, 1983.
I've definitely watched the original 6 I've watched, but like I haven't actually watched this new trilogy. I've only watched the first one. And yeah, you're going to have to give me your takes on it because I know you are a lot more knowledgeable about it, and I've heard a lot of harsh criticism for the actual films from fans in general without people actually going to watch the film. So
yeah,
what's your take on it? Have you had a chance to watch the film? Or
I have. Yeah, I think I went 27th, the day after Boxing Day, to go see the film.
Was it good?
My opinion is, yeah, it's not the best film in the world. Like, Star Wars films are never the best film in the world. But it's a great ending to the saga. It does everything it needs to do. My opinion on this is always the same every time these films come out. People are just wanting to moan about stuff for the sake of it. But yeah, it is what it is. It's a Star Wars film, and it finishes that saga, and it leaves the path open for Disney to do whatever they want to do with it. Now they can make their own content and start fresh, and people aren't relying on these older characters and thinking back to what it was before, which I think is really good, really refreshing. Something we've seen with the Mandalorian recently. That's a really good series, just based on the fact that it's pulling little bits from, like, obviously the universe that was built in previous, but it's not saying like this is exactly, you know, following on from that and these characters have to be in it. And that really helped it to be its own thing, I think, as well. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a really good end to the saga. It tops everything off really nicely. There's there's some things that obviously, you know, there's been two different directors, one in the middle. So we have Abrahams for the 7th, Rian Johnson for the 8th, and then J.J. Abrams again for the 9th. So there's obviously different plots that they wanted to take forward, and obviously some things that played out in the second film obviously don't carry over to the third film, vice versa with the first and the second, the 7th and the 8th film in the new trilogy. So yeah, it's got that thing to it where people are disappointed about certain things, but it's not that bad. It's just people really wanting to basically, I don't know, push on and do something a bit different. Just sort of moan about stuff for no reason. And I say it every time. I'm going to keep saying it. It's bullshit. The films are good. Star Wars has never been the best film ever. You know, we're talking about a franchise where this humans walking around with aliens in space with laser swords that can use the Force, which is just the I don't know, the air around you, and they can make people hover in the air and strangle them. So, like, if you're taking that seriously and going, oh, well, I didn't think that film really was realistic following on from that, take a look at yourself and just sort of slap yourself in the face, because it's not meant to be the most serious thing in the world. This is Star Wars, and it will always be Star Wars in the fact that there's fun to it, and it's for children and families as well. It's not just for adults that want all this stuff. So that's just my piece on that.
Yeah, well, what's it called? As I said, I haven't watched the second film yet, and I also really need to watch Solo. I can't believe I still haven't watched that yet. A lot of people trash that film too, and tell me, oh, it wasn't good, and they expected a lot more out of it. But I thought, well, Solo was just like a little side story. It wasn't never supposed to, you know, like, be a main addition into the story. And I think everyone just needs to get over the nostalgia. Like, you know, it's been many years now. We can't expect the same Star Wars over and over again.
Mm-hmm. But it's that thing. It's the fact that these new characters as such are replacing the older characters that are loved and have that nostalgic feeling. And Solo obviously really led into that when it recast the younger versions of the characters, because obviously you can't cast Harrison Ford and
Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, you can't cast them as 20-year-olds because they're like, Harrison Ford's like 70 odd now. Like, if you make him look like a 20-year-old, he's gonna look awful. So
exactly,
there's only certain things you can do.
And it's the same with, like, how many times are you just gonna keep using the same man in it? Like, they get older, like, you know, this de-aging stuff that you do, like, it looks good, but it looks weird as well sometimes. Like, sometimes it's time for other people to have a chance. That's the problem with, like, the older generation. There's constantly, all they do is complain and say, we made everything worse. Yet, I just feel like you're just stuck in your old ways, and you just don't want to accept anything new as well. How about that? Like, I don't like the fact that we get constantly blamed for so many things. Like, we made Star Wars shit. How I didn't sell Star Wars to Disney. Like, you know,
I don't know where you're reading half this stuff from, but that maybe got a bit too personal, like, for you. But
no.
There's a lot of people our age and younger that say it's shit. It's mainly people that are just sort of, I mean, we see it with a lot of things now, but to me, it's social media influence, the stuff that we haven't seen before, and we see it a lot now. It's as soon as some people say something, and a lot of, you know, some people agree with it vocally or not, that you have this vocal minority that is very vocal on a platform behind a screen where they can just feel like they can say whatever they want, and you sort of build up this thing then, and people just keep following it, and it gains a lot of notoriety, especially in the media as well, and the media pushes it onto social media, and it's a big cycle. But it gains a lot of notoriety because the media pushes it, because the media likes to pick up on stories like that, because it gets more clicks, it gets more advertisement money for them, and that's how it all works. And I think we see it more now because we're so more exposed to media than we ever were before, because we have everything at our fingertips and we have everything being thrown at us, even if we don't want it. You can get a notification saying, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Or you go on Twitter, you just scroll down, you see something, you get down a hole, and you end up reading all about the stuff, and everyone hates Star Wars, and people don't read context anymore. They see someone hates Star Wars, it's crap, and they go, oh, Star Wars must be crap, I don't like it. Like,
yeah, exactly. Well, what I was saying, really, like, I wasn't taking it into, like, more of, like, a personal experience. The only reason why I was saying about the older people was just saying that in terms of when anything is bad, like, you know, coming forward in the new generation, it's usually blamed upon, like, oh, it's just because, like, that's just how people like content these days. It's the younger generation that's doing this. I'm talking in terms of, like, when I speak to, like, my uncle and his friends, yeah, they have a lot of disdain for some reason for, like, the generation after them, saying that they, like, ruined a lot of things. But I also think that, like, they probably had a lot more impact and say on stuff than we ever have. Like, I think this decade is probably going to be our chance to have much more of an impact than anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, because we're actually grown up now. Like, we were still kids then. Like, I just don't really understand where this kind of notion gets on. And I see it a lot on the internet. I see a lot of people who are old, hardcore fans of, like, you know, the 90s and shit, and they say that was the best generation for films and games and shit. And they're just stuck there, in my opinion.
But yeah, my personal opinion, and it always will be, always has been, I think we share the same values in that. I like to think that the show and everything that comes with it, you know, the playlist and stuff like that, share the same values, and it doesn't matter when things were made or why they were. I think it's the fact that if art is good, then it's good, like, full stop. It doesn't matter when it was made or the nostalgic value of it, stuff like that. Like, as long as people do a good job or try, you know, you have to appreciate it, even if it's not something you necessarily like. You can keep trying to, I don't know, broaden your horizons, I think is probably the phrase I'm looking for, you know. There's things like, you know, I don't really like watching things like, you know, dramas or rom-coms or stuff like that, but
yeah.
If you get told that something's a good film or a recommendation from someone, you know, personal recommendation, someone might go to you, oh, maybe you should watch that, it looks pretty good. Well, yeah, why not give it a try? Like, there's no point saying, oh, well, that was the best generation and that's always going to be the best generation, because you never know what's coming. Like, innovation's always around the corner, and there's things last year we didn't expect to see. There's things in the last decade we definitely didn't expect to see. There's people. There's
people that were born in you know, in the 2000s. You know, the people that are born not long ago that are doing insane things already. You know, there's somebody that was born in the 2000 who's 20 years old now. Like, to say that, the generations are to blame for, that there's nobody else to blame for other than the people who make the top decisions at the top, and they're all a bunch of old people. There's nobody young making those decisions. So, like, I just want to know, like, where everyone gets this notion from that the consumer, yes, I agree. The consumer has changed drastically over the last decade. Like, we live in our phones. We live on streaming services. We want everything right now. Like, we always discuss about how we want everything so on demand and so right now. And that actually leads really nicely into, talking about how Disney and Netflix and the streaming services and what they're planning to do in order to grab our attention, basically. Because as you can see here, I didn't even know this. Obviously, you have a lot more context towards this article that you put down about Disney Plus and
and
the Mandalorian and stuff like that.
I just want a quick pointer here. Back in maybe the early 2000s, maybe 2000, 2001, was actually the pioneer of streaming services. Now, I went home one day and do you remember when you were like 4 or 5 and you like, we got told that we were going to get Sky and stuff and everyone like had Sky and you're like, oh wow, Sky, yeah. And I was like, you can just watch whatever you want when you want to watch it, can't you? Like,
yeah.
I found out you couldn't do that when we got Sky. But I was building myself up that I was just going to be like, okay, I can just go home, watch Cartoon Network, and just pick what I want to watch on Cartoon Network, press play, and it'll play it for me. Like,
yeah, that's exactly the same thing that, as a kid, like, I thought as well when, like, my mom was like, oh, we're going to get the Sky movies for, like, Christmas or whatever. Like, I'm like, yeah, that means we can watch whatever films we want. Nah. It's like a set list of films, and they're old.
Yeah, I mean, everyone probably had the same idea, but personally, I think that I was the pioneer. So if anyone ever asks who was the pioneer of streaming services, you all know that it was me.
Tom, you was not the pioneer. Just shut up. Like,
I was.
Explain the article about Netflix and Disney Plus.
I used to get movies from Blockbusters, go home, burn them, upload them to the internet, and then pioneer streaming services.
Oh, do you want to keep snitching on yourself to the feds and to tell them the actual website so you can get yourself arrested?
Yeah, we do a legal disclaimer that never happened. My internet was not good enough to do anything.
Yeah. All right then. All right.
I still had.
Oh, is that what it is? A callback to you saying you had whack internet? We don't believe you, Tom. We don't believe you.
I still had dial-up until 2005, 2006.
Hey, FBI, lock this man up.
Yeah, trust me, you can't do shit on dial-up.
No, you literally can't. I'll be surprised you actually could even like open up a web page properly.
No,
it was really bad. It was really, really bad.
Yeah. Back to Disney Plus. Disney Plus is launching this year in March in the UK. It's already launched in the Netherlands and the US and I think Australia. It's the biggest. I don't know how to put it. Basically, it's the most signed up to streaming service over its first month. It has, I think, is it like 24 million people in the US subscribed to Disney Plus, which is amazing, considering how early it launched. But over the last month, reports have found that they have lost over 1.1 million subscribers as well in barely a month. Which coincides with the last episode of The Mandalorian. And a lot of people are putting it down to that. A lot of people are saying that The Mandalorian ending is a reason a lot of people aren't subscribing to Disney Plus. And honestly, I think it's such a big thing that people are trying to make of it, but it's not really that big. I think if you look at things like Netflix, you'll probably see similar things in their early years. Big things on there. Disney obviously have more stuff in the pipeline, and once they get more and more content on there, I think people will stay subscribed to that service. It's not going away, put it that way.
Yeah, it's not going away, but I'm always having to be the not the bearer of bad news, but I'm on the other side in it. I'm anti-Disney at this point, and
so you're on the dark side.
I'm on the dark side, really. Well, not really, because Disney is the dark side. I'm on the side of good. I'm trying to help people out. This number also includes Verizon's offer as well as a free year of Disney Plus. So don't be fooled by the numbers, because they also gave away a bunch of Disney Plus subscribers for free. So that's not something that Netflix did straight out the gate. But Disney obviously have the money and resources to do stuff like that. So these numbers aren't real.
Does anyone use Verizon?
Yes, a lot of people. The whole of America uses Verizon. It's one of the biggest internet companies. So why wouldn't they use Verizon? What did they use? Sprint.
Yeah.
Verizon is the big. We're not going to argue about who do people use Verizon, Tom, because you constantly keep trying to argue about these things and you've got no stats to back it up. But I have my stats, so we'll see about what Verizon's user base is in America, because they're the only one. They're one of the biggest internet providers in America, isn't it? So Verizon's user base. I'm looking for them. This is in 2018. They have 116.2 million retail connections. I don't even know what that really even can mean. Basically, Verizon is massive. It's in the top 1 or 2 in it. And Sprint and T-Mobile have come together, but I think Verizon is still the biggest because they provide internet and mobile. So Disney Plus got given away for free on there. I know they had that stupid deal that they did for you sign up for 3 years, you get it for X amount of dollars a year. Disney have been quietly removing some of their biggest films off the streaming service because they don't own the rights to them. Really, I still don't see how it's an impressive streaming service. I think it's got a few things that is enticing people, but I can't see it being a concurrent service like a Netflix, who people will be interested in, because all it has on there is Disney films, and people will just get tired of that. I know. I'm just saying. I think people will get tired of that. That's all I'm saying.
They will, but there's not just Disney stuff. You have National Geographic, all the Fox stuff that's going to be coming.
I'm sorry, Tom, nobody's checking for National Geographic. I know you're saying. I know you would personally, but you're not the core consumer. There's not been a single person online that said we are checking for National Geographic, and that is what we've just signed up to Disney Plus for. That's cap. No one.
A lot
that's
of people
just an additional thing
for Jeff Goldblum.
All right. Okay. All right then. Okay.
But
you're not having a fair argument, so I'm not going to entertain it. Disney Plus is going to do well.
It is. No, but it's never gonna not knock Netflix off as the top one, because the amount of content and IP that Disney have, they could easily knock that off. But also you've got to think that Netflix offers more a larger range of content and more diverse content, and always will, because Disney Plus is aimed at PG-13 max. Once they start bringing
Disney Plus is not aimed at PG-13 plus max. Well, no, Tom,
PG-13
still,
max. As in
Disney
PG-13 is the max they will go to.
Disney is still really predominantly U to PG. That is what they're still aiming for. They're still aiming for children and for families and for moms and for things like that. That's who they're still aiming at. Child-friendly content. They're not going to put anything riskier than what Disney knows is risky for them on that service. I just know they're not. I don't know how this Hulu streaming service is going to work and how they're going to add content, how they're going to add Blade into the MCU. I think it's all a mess. I think it's going to work. I don't think any of that kind of stuff is going to work properly, but we'll see.
Yeah, the thing is, you don't follow Hulu as much in the US. And just one thing I'll say is that Hulu has its own original content anyway, which is really good.
Yeah.
Now Disney have all of that and have the IPs to bring other content to that. they already have the bundle deal in the US. Once they start bringing that to other places, I feel like we will see a lot of people doing this bundle deal to get the Marvel stuff and the Star Wars stuff and other IPs that Disney will be bringing. Fox IPs and stuff.
I do not think the consumer is going to care enough to get a streaming service to watch these TV shows. I'm being genuinely honest here when I say that. People who go and watch Avengers and stuff like that in cinema do not care enough to get a streaming service.
Mm-hmm. But you're underestimating the pull of things like The Simpsons, and I know you're going to say The Simpsons is old, but
I'm not going to say The Simpsons are old. I'm going to say The Simpsons is dead and has been dead for the last 10 years. So why would I want to get a streaming service?
You've just upset the many people that love The Simpsons.
I don't care who I've upset, because The Simpsons has been dead. Everyone knows that. The people who watch The Simpsons themselves, everyone knows that The Simpsons died at season 8. Everyone go and watch Super Eye Patch Wolf's video on the rise and fall of The Simpsons, and you see what's happened to that series, and you can see how it's not funny anymore. It hasn't been funny for years, and I don't care who I offend, because it hasn't. Tell me how The Simpsons has been relevant in the last 10 years. It hasn't.
It's predicted everything.
Oh, yeah, that has happened, but we can just take that down a deeper, darker meaning in like, oh, TV has been predicting major events across the world for years now, and that's just a way of telling people events that have happened that are being planned or are about to happen. I'm not saying that because we're not a conspiracy theorist podcast, but
watch out, because that's coming.
If you really want to take a look into stuff like that, like, it can easily just be chalked down to either coincidence or people are obviously planning these events and they're putting them into shows so people can see them, so they're not too shocked when it happens. That's all I can. That's all I can think in it. That's the only thing that I can think.
And obviously now the overlords Disney own that, so it's only going to get worse. You know. As a lot of people would say. I'm not suggesting you, but I'm just saying.
Everyone thinks it's fun in games, yeah. But Bob Iger is actively trying to get into office in America as we speak, and that's not a good thing. We see what Donald Trump does, yeah. We don't want another CEO or businessman in power in office in America, because we can see the world is currently in turmoil.
Well,
I'm
sorry. I'd much rather Bob Iger be in charge than Donald Trump in America.
Yeah, I would be much rather Bob Iger, but would you really? Because he's just as much as a ruthless businessman as well. He's not a nice man. He's not positive. He's not cheery. Disney do horrible things as well.
Well, so you obviously have not watched the new Disney documentary on Disney's service.
Oh, the new Disney documentary when they just gloss over the fact that Walt Disney was a massive racist. How about that?
They don't actually gloss over that, which is surprising but very honest by Disney.
It's not honest. None of that content should be on their streaming service either. But they were mad stupid for that. I don't even know why you would put that on there, because like and don't say it was just because it was a different time. Like, that content just. Why would you want to watch it? Because it's racist. Forget it, innit? Disney Plus is coming soon. All of you drones, go and get it.
I'll be getting it, and I'm waiting for the Hulu pass to come.
Of course you are, Tom. The Hulu pass that's not going to come for another probably 3 years to England, because God knows when that's going to be pushed through. Because that's what I'm saying. Like, the streaming service is a mess. As I said, yeah, Stadia is currently in turmoil. We'll see what Disney Plus is saying, because 2020 ain't shaping up very great for you, Tom.
What?
I'm just saying, some of the opinions and hot takes that you had last year, they're not coming true this year. I remember I told you 2020, you're going to have a lot of things to answer for. I'm waiting.
Okay, well, we'll see.
We're waiting, Tom. Don't worry, we will see. We'll see. We'll see.
Just quickly, if you haven't watched His Dark Materials, that also ended just before Christmas. We didn't have time to cover it on previous shows, but just quickly, it's a very good series based on the Golden Compass the first book and the His Dark Materials trilogy. If you ever seen the film The Golden Compass back in the early 2000s, or maybe late 2000s, I can't remember when it came out. Anyway, really good series, recommend watching it. Has people such as James McAvoy, Lin-Miranda in it. It's a show made between HBO and the BBC, so it is available in several countries. It's definitely worth a watch. Other things that came out recently, You Season 2, which is, I don't know how to explain it, a psychological thriller, maybe. It's a little bit like Dexter Season 2. People are saying it's not as good as Season 1. Ignore everyone on the internet as usual. It's pretty good. And The Witcher is obviously one of the big things that came out Christmas time on Netflix, based on the Witcher books, not necessarily based on the games, but based on the Witcher books. It's 8 episodes, really good season, and it is coming back in 2021, unfortunately, but it's definitely worth a watch if you have the time. Just sort of quickly, what's going to be coming new to Netflix in 2020. Sorry. We have a lot of like Netflix originals that are coming. There's some things that we've spoke about before. There's probably way too much to get into, actually. One of the biggest things, or one of the most interesting things for me, is to see that there is a Ni no Kuni anime coming to Netflix on January the 16th. So that's just my take from that. But
that sounds fire.
Yeah, that's just my take from that. There's way too much to sort of announce that's coming just in this month. But if you obviously want to go and have a look, then Netflix tweeted out a lot of stuff the other day.
There's lots. If anything, like give a quick rundown of some of the directors and producers that have been actually linked to some of these new Netflix. Oh wait, is this just a list of what's coming out this month? Damn.
Yeah. So like I said,
there's bare stuff. There's like Spike Lee, David Fincher. God, I can't even. Jordan Peele. Mm-hmm. There's so many things. There was some of those films that you sent me. There was like one about like, some people were rich and some people were poor, and like there was like a feeding kind of like platform, and like the people below got to see the people at the top eat. So it's kind of like like the rich versus poor type divide. You look at people live good at the top and the people live bad at the bottom, kind of like that. I thought that was it's probably one of my favorite stories that they said. Like the concept was really cool. I
think, like you just said, I mean, we want to get into the music section as well for this, but there's a lot of stuff like that. If you want to have a look before the next show, then go on Netflix's Twitter account and you can see all the details. But we do have some favourites that we will discuss in probably a lot more detail in the next show, because it's something we have done off air and want to. But we feel like at the start of the year, we just sort of wanted to talk about obviously Disney and what's coming, what's just happened. But what we're going to be looking forward to in 2020 is obviously going to be going on throughout the year. We're speaking about what's going to be happening in 2020, and it's a good time to move on to music for that.
Bridging the gap between music and gaming. 808s and Joysticks.com.
And the reason for that is we have a lot of things possibly coming in 2020. We have the undiscussed Frank album possibly coming in 2020. Frank Ocean.
Oh no, that's for sure coming. The announcement.
Is it?
With the announcement of Coachella?
Is it?
That's definitely coming.
Is it?
What's he going to perform at Coachella?
Well, I don't know, but I mean,
blonde again. Like
put it this way. if you like 2017, you'll love 2018. And it's been quiet ever since. So no one knows when the fuck anything's going to happen with Frank. But what we do know is Bugatti's back and is bigger than ever, or maybe not, or maybe not. If Tyrell's words are to be,
it's not even my words though. You can go and look at every single article that's out right now, and they all said that Justin Bieber's single flopped. It didn't do what it was supposed to do, and it's not doing very well projected.
Who said that?
I'm not. Everyone, Pitchfork. Go on Google right now.
Fuck Pitchfork.
I'm not saying. Obviously, yeah, you can say fuck Pitchfork, but like, I'm just saying, innit? Like, I'm not being negative about it. I don't think the song's like bad. I think it's just an average Justin Bieber song, in my opinion. But obviously, you're a stan in it, so I don't expect you to really try and say like, oh yeah, like it's bad, or like, you have some sort of like kind of apprehensiveness about it. But I'm just saying, for Justin Bieber, it hasn't really done what I expected. Like, he was like super, super big. Like, I just think nobody really talked about it. Wasn't really that picked up by anyone. The video itself hasn't got that many views for a Justin Bieber like video. I'm just saying in it what I'm seeing. Meaning to me is that like it's just the same as Taylor Swift, in that like some of these bigger artists, they just don't hit the mark that you really expect them to hit these days. Like, they're not the megastar that they used to be, and I kind of feel like that is the same with Justin Bieber. I feel like a lot of people don't really see him as like that golden boy anymore, and it is what it is, isn't it? At the end of the day, like, it's got nothing to do with me.
He's still my golden boy and always will be. And on that note as well, Pitchfork are no longer friends of this show or associated in any way. So
they were never friends of the show. I don't like Pitchfork.
They could have been. There was a possibility, but it's gone now. There was a small possibility, but now it's gone. And that's all we need to say on that matter. They're done. That's it. Pitchfork's over. Pitchfork's done. Well, and hashtag end Pitchfork 2020. That's what people need to do.
Either way, we had like an off-air conversation, which we won't get into because we was discussing lots of very different things about impact and all sorts of things that are going to go on for like the rest of the decade. And like, I was just saying that like, I don't think Justin Bieber's really gonna. The album's not going to be that. It's not going to sell as much, and I don't think it's going to be as big as you expect it to be. That's the only thing.
Mm-hmm. We have a little bit of time to touch on this a bit, and yeah, like you said, it's probably not done the numbers that people were expecting it to do. To me, it's not the strongest song. It's a good song, but it's not the strongest song, and I don't believe that it's I don't believe it's going to be the lead single from the album as such, like the most popular. I feel like it's just a teaser. He also announced.
I don't think that. I think it was supposed to be the lead single because the video is well produced and it looks like they had a whole rollout. There's even merch to go with the song and the video. That's not something that you don't treat as a lead single to the album. I think that was the lead single, and they're either going to say it wasn't the lead single because they don't want to be embarrassed by it, or they're going to try something else. And if the other thing doesn't work, what is Justin Bieber going to do?
He's still there. He won't be going anywhere anytime soon.
I'm not saying I don't think it's going to be going anywhere. I'm just saying, like, you got to think Justin Bieber is still Justin Bieber, but he's also still signed to a label. He's signed to Def Jam. If he's not doing the numbers that Def Jam expect out of Justin Bieber with the amount of money they pumped into him, they're going to be asking questions, and they're going to be like, Justin, where's the numbers? Do you know what I mean? Like, we allowed you to take 5 years off. where's the numbers? Do you know what I mean? Like that's what they want from him.
So let me give you the numbers, okay? Currently, the global top 50 on Spotify, Justin Bieber's new single "Yummy" is number 2 with 5.2 million daily plays. The only song above it is "Dance Monkey," which has 7.1 million daily plays. Now, fair enough, he's not number 1 on that, but out of 100 songs, 50 songs, because it's global top 50, obviously, out of 50 songs, that is the only new entry in the last 3 or 4 days on that chart. So
that's because nobody's released anything new, like absolutely brand new. No one's released anything because he released it on a Friday. That is not the streaming. That's not the time to release when you're trying to get tracking for streaming. Tracking for streaming starts from Tuesday to Friday. So he already then only ended on the last part of streaming. So for him to enter into the week, that is why, because he is the only person who has released a song in that window. So it's all it is what it is, isn't it? Like, I understand what you're trying to say, innit? Like, but I just don't think that being top 50 on global isn't really what, like, I don't think that's really that impressive for Justin Bieber to be number 2. Like, I expect him to be number 1 everywhere because he's Justin Bieber. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, which is understandable, but also we've got to take into account. I'm talking like personal side here for him, but we have to take into account this is his first song, technically solo song. I'm not including like songs he's been featured on, but his first solo song in 4 years, or well, over 4 years, nearly, over 4 years. Or was it 5 years? Well, no, it's 4 years. So Purpose came out in November 2015. So it's been a long time coming. And obviously he's had his own personal issues that he's been dealing with fame at a young age, stuff like that. He aims to sort of talk about that more openly in his new YouTube documentary series that he announced, which looks interesting. You know, obviously I'm not expecting that to be a big hit. That's just interesting if you're interested in him and that side of, you know, his life during that time, which is understandable. A lot of people will watch it. They're still fans of his, but you know, in those 4 to 5 years, a lot of people have grown up in that time. Music's changed a lot in that time as well. We have to consider, and it is going to be hard to sort of break back into that because there's a good amount of people that are bigger than him now, and streaming has got much more common since his last album, and it's going to be a different transition period for him. But I do think that once everything comes, it's going to be a good album, and we're going to see it be successful. Whether it will reach the heights of his last stuff, I don't know. I do think that you have a good point in that he might not have the same star power that he used to anymore, but I feel like once he gets back out there, if he just has to release one good song, and I feel like it's sort of back again, because that's really what propelled the last album. We had, What Do You Mean and Sorry, and that's where that album sort of propelled itself because of those songs and how popular they were mainstream wise. We'll just have to wait and see. But either way,
yeah. Well, the way how this album has been set up, and I mean the way how this song sounds and the way it's set up, it should have really done well, but it didn't. And I just think that is just because I seen a lot of, this is what I've just seen, like when I just searched like Justin Bieber Yummy, a lot of people just didn't like it, and they just thought that he was trying way too hard. He was trying way too hard to try and like do like this kind of R&B / trap style, which for some reason a lot of people are trying to say that Ariana Grande like popularized, which she didn't. It's really Travis Scott who brought this to the forefront, if we're going to be really real with it all. Obviously, Ariana and Justin Bieber are both signed to Scooter Braun, so it kind of makes sense that they have a similar sound now. But
my final point here. I mean, for me, the album's going to be great either way because it's the style of music that I love from him. Which is great, and it's the style of music he actually likes making, which is good. Because obviously, he's put a lot of work into it. But just quickly before we move on to new releases, he actually, a lot of people don't know, but he actually released an R&B project back in 2013 anyway, called Journals, and there's elements of this sort of stuff in that music anyway. So it's not like this is something brand new for him. It's not like he's trying to do what everyone else has done. Like, this is what he's really been passionate about for quite a long time, and if it's probably not successful, he might be disappointed, but at the end of the day, he's making music that he likes to make now and not being forced into this certain thing.
I understand that, but I do need to stress that, like, I think Justin Bieber needs to also know that, like, even if he is trying to make music that he's going to make, it still isn't like, it still sounds really polished and kind of pop, like, and like, I get it, like, I do, but I think a lot of people are kind of fatigued on it, and they're kind of like, oh wow, Justin Bieber trying to do another pop hit again. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I know where you're coming from, especially as a fan, and you like to listen to that type of music, but I just think that we'll have to wait and see, especially when this chart is out, like, for this week. We'll see what the numbers are. We'll see how much he actually did, because I'm going to be interested in the numbers, because at the moment, currently, is Roddy Ricch is doing really well, and the box is like number one in quite a few different charts, Rolling Stone and Billboard. So and Post Malone as well is doing quite well still. But we'll just move on to new releases real quick because we don't have a lot of time left. So for albums, I'm not even going to say anything about them. Street Trauma by D Block Europe. Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial by Roddy Ricch. Jack Boys by Jack Boys. Extremely good album. I had to say something about this. It's just sick. Jesus Is Born. The Sunday Service Choir. Another
better album.
Another way better album than Jesus Is King, and is really good. It's just gospel music. If you want to listen to gospel renditions of popular songs and Kanye, then go ahead and listen to that. So much fun.
Sorry, can I just say something on that? Even if you don't like gospel music, just listen to it. Like, try something different. That's the whole point in it. Try something different.
Yeah, I would say. Well, this is always a message on when we do music, is obviously try something different. Like, we try and bring as much variation as we can. So Much Fun, Deluxe by Young Thug, Get the Fuck Off My Dick, There's Not Enough Room by Silk Money. Really, really, really good project. I know the title sounds wild, but it's a really good project though, so you should check it out. K by For Now, Sweet and Alive by Ariana Grande, Vanquish by Popcorn, his first OVO sound release, East Atlanta Santa 3 by Gucci Mane. That's his like series that he does every Christmas. Gotta Flame Them All by Lord Fubu.
Shout out to Fubu.
You was about to say something about the live.
I was just gonna say that is a pretty good live album. That's it.
Cool. Singles: No Denying by J Hus, Savage by Mist, Gangster by Darkhold, which has got various remixes. I really like this song. It's probably one of the only Afro beat songs that I actually like. Bando Ballads by M Huncho, Yummy by Justin Bieber, obviously, Hellbound by Vince Staples, Nige, Trendsetters, and 8 Style 2 by Dig That. That is our albums and our single releases. To 2020, I'm looking forward to a Drake project, a full Travis Scott project. What the hell ever Kendrick's working on, a Frank project. I'm also really anticipating to see what Rihanna does, and what Nicki Minaj does as well. And I want to see what Kanye's next move is.
I think Kanye should take a year off.
I think Kanye probably will end up taking a year off. And I want to see what Tyler does, and A$AP Rocky.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah. there's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to this year, games-wise, movie-wise, TV series-wise that we know about, streaming service-wise, just seeing what happens on that front. Hardware-wise, games console, areas like that. And, like you say, music as well. Music is going to be a big year. I think 2020 is going to be a big year, but we'll have to see. At the end, in December, we'll see what we're saying with that 2020 vision.
Yeah, with that 2020 vision. And with that being said, this is the first episode of the 2020s. Thank you for all the support. The weekly playlist is still out, and it's the songs of the decade. It's a massive playlist. We still actually want to add songs to it because there's just too many great songs that need to be added, and it's a really, really great playlist. Like, whenever I shuffled it, there's not a single song on there that I skip. It's amazing. It's a really, really good, solid playlist. So check that out.
Mm-hmm. Very, very humble brag from someone who curated the playlist.
No.
I mean, half of the playlist. Half the playlist I did in it. You did the other half, which is really, really solid songs, and you put songs on there that I actually really overlooked and forgot about as well. So I'm glad that I had you to do that side of the songs as well. So then I came in with my set of songs as well, plus a few additional ones that I thought should be added in. And yeah, thanks for the support. Thanks to Dash. Shouts out to Spreaker. Everything. Yeah, and that's it. Peace out, 2020.
808s and Joysticks with Tom Stone and Tyrell Hayward Brown.